now told you about a certain anti-hydroxychloroquine pharma lobby which was trying its best to discredit the drug, which could be our biggest hope against coronavirus. Now, a leading figure in the health sector, Dr. Blazy, has provided insight into how there was a lot of pressure being built by a particular lobby. In fact, and it was under pressure that there were certain reports that were published about the usage of hydroxychloroquine. He gives us insight into how a series of negative hydroxychloroquine studies got published in prestigious medical journals. The former French health minister revealed that at a recent top secret closed-door meeting attended by experts only, the editors of both the Lancet and the New England Journal of Medicine expressed their exasperation, citing the pressures put on them by pharmaceutical companies. He states that each of the editors used the word criminal to describe the erosion of science. We have a reaction coming in from Dr. K.K. Agarwal on this.
It's a sad situation. The reason being, specifically, if the journals like New England Journal of Medicine and Lancet, they end up in publishing data which does not support the evidences, the whole world suffers out of them. We congratulate both the journals for retracting these articles. Was it motivated by Remdesivir company in the background? We don't know. But India's Atmanirbhar basically talks about low-grade inflammation and medicines which can affect low-grade. One of them is a cheap hydroxychloroquine. And suddenly we saw a series of articles appearing in Lancet and New England Journal of Medicine talking against hydroxychloroquine, to the extent that WHO also withdrew one of the arm of research in hydroxychloroquine, but then came a revert.
Let's now go across to our National Affairs editor, Srinjoy Chaudhary, joining us with more details. This is a shocking revelation being made that there were negative studies that were deliberately published in top journals against the usage of hydroxychloroquine.
Yes, the important point here to note, and that's what the report says, is that HCQ and AZ, they are cheap, they are easily available, and they can be equally well distributed to any part of the world, because so much HCQ is already available and available very cheaply. The point is, this is something the pharma lobby, according to the report, feels is detrimental to their interests, even if it is helping patients who are suffering from COVID. Because the pharma lobby obviously wants new medicines, expensive medicines, and medicines that will actually make these companies richer. The important point is that COVID can be fought very easily with HCQ and AZ. And the report says that if you use HCQ and AZ together for 3 days, the patient is much better off.
Guests with us in the broadcast, we have Dr. Sanjiv Bagai, chairperson of Nephron, and Dr. Om Srivastav, infectious disease specialist. Good afternoon to both of you. Let me first go across Dr. Bagai. This is a big revelation, a shocking one, which highlights how the lobby wanted to utilize the situation to mint money, and that's why negative reports, negative study on hydroxychloroquine was published in top journals.
Good afternoon. I think this has exposed the dark underbelly of medical science, of international literature, which is being published in the so-called giants and giants of medical journals. And this is the classical example, Swati, of truth being completely beaten up, science being buried, the data being willfully concealed and misinterpreted and lied upon, and interpretations are being done with no scientific evidence. We know that in a quest of publication, in an unquestioned threat of publication, it's a race to the finishing line. HCQ has been in the Indian market for the last 70 odd years. It's a reasonably safe drug. For prophylactic use, the ICMR has promoted it. We are getting good results in pockets in Delhi and in Bombay. They are promising results. There is a trial which is going on. But this actually exposes the nexus of large pharma giants. One amongst them is Glidin, which is manufacturing Remdesivir, and it has some sort of nexus with the Birmingham hospital. There are also publications and research papers now coming out in the journals, in the same journals, in which the journals articles have been withdrawn and there is some amount of money being paid. So this is a clear bias. There is vested interest, there is conflict of interest, the methodology is flawed, the data interpretation has been twisted to fix their needs. So the science in fact becomes very ugly. This has compromised the safety and clinical efficacy not only of a pocket of population in the world, but the entire globe. This is because India is a pharma giant. It produces the largest stock of HCQ and AZ. There was a threat and there's an obvious financial angle to it. So let me explain. An HCQ tablet costs just few rupees versus one dose of Remdesivir, which will go into a couple of lakhs in Indian rupees. So there, if you follow the international stock market, ever since Remdesivir is being promoted internationally, the stock evaluation in the market, even in this pandemic of Glidin company, has skyrocketed. So this is really a temptation to provide hope to people with no scientific evidence. So our oath is do no harm. But if you are going to rely on biased and twisted and fixed and fraud publications in which the data can actually cause harm to the global population, I think this is a criminal fraud. I think this should be taken up in the International Court of Justice, and the editors of both Lancet and New England Journal of Medicine should be taken to task.
Absolutely. They need to be interrogated to find out, who were the individuals in this lobby that we're talking about, Dr. Srivastav. And this is very important. A nexus, a group of pharma companies building pressure on top journals to mislead many across the globe, to mislead people across the globe, across the world. Countries need to come together. And I guess this is exactly what the Prime Minister meant when he said Atmanirbharta, to rely on your own research and not be misled, which the WHO also, gave into.
Very true. You're absolutely right. But look, I'll tell you, for those of us who have been using HCQ, hydroxychloroquine is a wonderful drug. It's got its place in clinical practice even before COVID started. And in the doses that we are talking about, the number of patients that I have on HCQ, I've not seen a single patient going into any of the complications that have been touted. I think that on the merits of its scientific basis alone, HCQ should not have been disregarded or put aside. There may be other molecules that may have a role, but that does not take away the merits of HCQ. So HCQ, both in prophylaxis of COVID and in treatment of COVID, is a stupendous drug. It's a wonderful drug. You need to make sure that whatever drug you're giving to anybody, you need to make sure that those patients are monitored. And if they are within the limits of the dosages that are prescribed, the number of people that I know who are on prophylaxis on HCQ have done very well, more than 15 weeks now. So I can't see the problem with HCQ. I must say that all the trials that we are talking about, I'd like to see what is the outcome of those trials, but simply from the point of view of a clinician, I have not seen a problem with HCQ. So HCQ, I'm glad that it is being re-looked at as a molecule for COVID. It's got a huge amount of value in this particular situation. Right. And so Remdesivir may or may not, I'm not sure, it's too early for anybody to comment upon the utility of Remdesivir. But based on the scientific merits alone, HCQ should not be disregarded. It's a very useful drug.
Absolutely. Let me also, quickly go across to Dr. Bagai, because Dr. Bagai, yes, we are waiting for a coronavirus specific vaccine. We don't know when that's going to happen, but you have to resort to alternative treatment. That's exactly what our doctors in the country are doing. But one thing is very clear. This nexus, this lobby was trying to create fear psychosis, trying to basically create a space in the market for maybe their own products by discrediting hydroxychloroquine.
Very quickly, it's important to actually understand the entire gamut of the international literature since February, March this year. There are more than 33,000 articles in international reputed journals which have been published on research on COVID. And can you believe it? More than 61%, that means more than 60% of these articles have been withdrawn in the last 4 weeks. So really the message to the entire medical fraternity is, irrespective of the name of the journal, we as doctors must learn to critically evaluate and gauge ourselves and interpret the data ourselves. That's point number one. Point number two is HCQ has been in the market, like I've said, for 70 odd years. It's been used mainly for systemic lupus, for rheumatoid arthritis. It's an immunomodulant. That means it's a steroid sparing agent. So it's not an immunosuppressant, it's an immunomodulant agent, although the doses in those diseases is different. It should be used under medical supervision, especially for ongoing patients who have some amount of cardiac issues. It should be monitored with ECG and other cardiac markers. It has a reasonably safe profile, but I repeat again, it is not to be stored and hoarded at home. It's not to be stocked up at home. It should not be self-medicated. It should be under medical supervision. This is a clear bias against the Indian research. There is a bias against what India has promoted. There is a bias against financial gain for our nation, and I'm extremely happy and very proud that this entire myth and this sinister stand of fantasy has been busted.